So we're going to get started on the Trailhead discussions. And for the 6 to 7 hour, it will be strictly Trailhead. I'm happy to see all the people that turned out. I guess we need to talk about health more often. So, all right, let's get started.
Mayor and Council, I'm going to try to have my microphone on. We're going to do a quick overview. Our whole presentation is less than 10 minutes. Our goal is that you have an opportunity to ask us questions, to weigh in on the project. At the end of all of this, what we would really like to know is what's our next step, because we presented earlier the scope, and tonight we want to go over the financing and the budget aspects of the various scenarios. So with that, we're going to cover the scenarios briefly, the design and construction costs as have been estimated, and Scott's going to answer those questions. The financing, Arlene's going to talk about, and the next one is going to talk about. And over the course of the evening, if you have questions about golf, Chris and his staff are going to answer golf questions. So with that, I'll go to the first slide. And this is kind of what I call the punchline or the end of the presentation. We put them all together up front so you don't have to wait till the end of the presentation to find out how much things cost. So these are 5 scenarios. I think they're numbered a little bit different than before, but they're the same scenarios that the consultant presented. Scenario 1 is an updated facility, an elevator, and range improvements. It's predominantly just dressing code issues at the golf course. Number 2 is a clubhouse, a new clubhouse, range improvements, and some added amenities for $8.9 million. You know, RJ is going to go through these in more depth, so I'm not going to. So for the sake of purposes, 1 through 5, they range from $3.3 million, and then option scenarios 2, 4, and 5 are all 8.9. So with that, I'll turn it over to RJ.
Next slide. So we look at the first scenario, which is just the $3.3 million design and construction, which is updating the existing facility, adding the elevator, parking, landscaping improvements, and the driving range for the net holes are included in that 1.3. If you remember from our estimates, I think from last year on the range of holes, that was about 1.7 itself. So we're looking at facility improvements around the area is about 1.6. You can see a couple slides in there with pictures on them in the executive summary that you that was emailed out on Friday. It goes through those pictures a little bit more detail.
RJ, what is the extended range? Because we believe where it is, you can't go any further east.
The driving range in this one is the same, it just gets bigger. It's not extended, it's not
Extended pool.
Yeah.
Extended
So high, just the high, not extended length.
Okay.
Same length.
I think it was confused with the extended range.
Extended height.
Thanks.
In the second one, a scenario, it is looking at a new clubhouse, so using a new footprint for that. So when we were looking through the exec summary and doing the PowerPoint, we had some clarification on a 2-level driving range, 2-deck, and the original slide had suggested that it was 2 level. It's all 1 level. All the scenarios is 1 level. Scenarios, I believe, 4 and 5 talks about driving range. So there's no 2-deck. That's why that's crossed out. The one you got on the weekend did not have that crossed out. In this one, there are some amenities added, where you see snag, mini golf, here, and then event meeting space in that scenario as well. And then some trail connection. Scenario 3, you're looking at similar footprint to what exists there today, but adding on to the building. So adding on to the building. The driving range now has moved, so instead of being off to the left, it is now moved up front and center of the existing clubhouse at that. The old range has turned some other amenities, which includes the snag course, pickleball setup, some trail connection, and some green space. There's also the event and meeting space included in the scenario as well, with mini golf up here in the corner. This one about 7.6 million. From there we go into scenario 4, So this one addresses the new clubhouse. The old ones, we'll sitting right here. The new clubhouse moves over to the east. You have a new driving range set up, maximum length of 300 yards. With the new driving range and that set up, you get away from not having a fence in that entire thing. The amenities you see there, the snag, the mini ball, the pickleball, the trail on community space, and the community space. As well. In scenario 5, so this one's 8.9. So scenario 5 is the same scenario, but it suggests to keep, it changes where some of the amenities have been sitting and suggests selling off some property. So where their estimate, when you go through the executive summary, has about 2.3 million sale of properties, looking at these two paths here. But moving, in scenario 4, I had mini golf to these paths, right? Let's move the mini golf over kind of what our existing driver range is at. But it still has all the same amenities, so it's just a different floor plan. We looked at construction design at 8.9 million, so that was the so the same as number 4 in cost, but when I go through the next slide, you'll see where it kind of reduces in the overall debt that we have to take out. So some options for Trailhead when it comes to financing and offset debt service. These are options. Every single process scenario, but these are kind of 4 maybe one to identify. One is talking about sell an asset. For an asset, the other one is using existing cash balances. We are due, to get our Orchard Park lift money. Should be one county commission on March 10th. So what that means is we in general fund part of that cash flow process. So they're going to get funded about $3.6 million into those funds altogether. So by saying that, you do have some existing cash balances in those funds that you could use to drop to the problem debt if desired. So just to read, means real estate excise taxes. These taxes are on the sale of property, and they have to be used for capital type items, like Trailhead. You can issue debt. So on this one, it talks about the non-voted general obligation bond, or also the council match bond. In this one, if you're going to issue it, you're going to identify a revenue source to cover the annual debt payments. REIT can be a source to cover that annual debt payment. Also, general fund. I did put a little header in there, the golf course, if monies are available, can also go and use to pay for that debt. But when you go to finance this one, the bonding agency is going to be looking for a definitive, strong revenue source to pay that off. You can also go out to the voters and ask for a voter bond money, which that will increase people's property taxes. So so one of the assumptions that we made is that we're going to go out and issue debt. It would be a 20-year bond. We can issue a 15-year, we can issue a 30. We focused on the 20-year. With looking at the 20, we started off with looking at each design scenario, and we have on page of the construction cost. In the executive summary, there's an estimated revenue which for each of the 5 scenarios of what Staples put together, what they thought the course would bring in over those 20 years. So that's a 20-year number. Estimated expenses, O&M, and debt service. When it says debt service, that's the capital portion of the debt service, not the interest. So when you're looking at 25.5, sorry, do some math here. It's so much different when you're doing it in your head or your desk when you're looking at the big screen. 25.5 million, if you back out the 3.3, it gives you 22.2 million. That's the operation and maintenance cost before construction of debt service. One of the items we saw that they did not have included in the executive summary is the rotation of the fleet. So as a tractor, as the golf carts become old, that number wasn't built in there. So we built that number in there. We thought $2 million over a 20-year period seemed to be a good number to budget for. We're budgeting about $90,000 a year now in our fleet rotation. And when we look back over the last 6 years, that's what that $2 million number is there for. And then we have the interest that's on the debt service. So when I say debt service here, this is really that construction capital. This is the interest would be on that debt service in each of these scenarios. Scenario 5, this one includes selling land. So you see the estimated revenue is higher in scenario 4. This is because we sold property for about 2.4 million. You'll see that because we sold property, we're also assuming that we use that to drop down the debt service. That's why the interest is lower on there versus 4. So if you think about, if I pay $2.4 million on debt service, I'm saving about $900,000 in interest over that 20 years. And then this last one is net cost between these scenarios. Over 20 years, this is what is the forecast is showing. So scenario 3 and scenario 5 are the ones that are barely scenario 3, but scenario 5 are the ones that show you profit. So over that 20 years, the other ones are in negative. This is looking at that same 20 years. The difference is, what if we paid down $2 million in cash and then issued debt for the rest? So when you flip back and forth, you can see the interest on the debt service. For instance, on scenario 1, goes from $1 million down to 0.4, which you're basically on borrowing for 1.3 million. That's a shorter amount at that time. In the other scenarios, you see slight reduction of about 400,000 in some cases, all the way down to 700,000. And then you see in that scenario, the net costs, other than the first 2 items, the rest of them do show a positive balance. And so we covered a lot of ground. Detail here for you as well. At this point, we want to see what kind of questions, comments you have, next steps. Staff of the construction, Christopher, operations on course. We got our staff here to help answer questions and tackle debt financing.
RJ, could you tell me about your observations of the revenue forecast, specifically the level of detail that you were able to observe? I'm just curious about what, I'd say, I don't know, is it pessimistic or optimistic insofar as what could be made in terms of revenue?
Optimistic. I think one of the things when we dive through looking at this, I asked Chris quite a bit, especially on the range plays, what he thought he was comfortable with. I think one of the things that always concerns, we never predict what the weather's going to be for the year. We looked at the strong look at pickleball, because that was one that's an untested revenue source for us in there. But when we offset it, we really kind of analyzed it. That was also one of the lesser expensive amenities. So for a small amount of investment, could there be a long payoff afterwards? And with Staples through it, we looked at what their experience was going into that, what they saw were people that were more playing. They would come, they would play, they would come to the restaurant or sit on the patio and enjoy themselves more than an experience than because they go for free right now, but it's a different setting. We're just going to use the course. You can have more than on board. The expenses, I think one thing we looked at was miscellaneous expenses when we looked at the forecast. That is kind of where the operationally, we're talking to Staples, that's where they built in a contingency. So if you think about the numbers, they kind of say we're just kind of hedging the bet a little bit. There's about an 8 to 10% contingency in that line item on there that we haven't not really identifiable, just to watch costs going through. So we know the course as it sits with parks and operations on there. It's not breaking even. You don't seem to be that far out of sync with that when you include some of the other expenses like fleet maintenance and building debt service.
Yes, sorry.
My question is on the fleet management. Is the $2 million, are you anticipating that it's going to be strictly for the facility, or will it be shared with other?
The $2 million was strictly looking at the golf carts, the mechanical equipment that is on the course. So it's for the course, not necessarily for this area.
The $2 million is strictly for equipment to maintain the facility as a whole.
Did I hear correctly that there's not in any of these scenarios the option for the double-decker driving range?
That is correct.
Might they modify that?
It just was not included in the cost.
They were pushing it a lot.
They felt they could add range spots or 15 minutes of force, really not necessarily. Maybe they want to do that, see how it goes, make sure it's all getting filled up. And then probably build it with the option to be able to put the second deck on later. So you might do a little more feet, base to start with, knowing that you might go vertical later.
So with this, how many slots would we be getting if we were to move the driving range? How many spaces would we get?
25 covered, and then the grass area was about 10 to 15. So right now we're at sitting at about 23 spots between grass and covered and non-covered. So when Andy and I talked about it, the covered portion of it, he thought of 25, and then if it was to double, then we'd get 50, but it wasn't a hard number. Once at 25, we could make it 30, we could make it 32. Once it was decided where it was going to be or if it was going to move and to see the site, and then at that point could decide, okay, 25 is going to cost this, 30 is going to cost this, 32 is going to cost that. We got that. Once it got down to the fine details, we could figure out from there when they could give us. I wasn't, and they weren't comfortable with diving in with all 50, going from basically 14 covered, or 10 covered really, to 50. That was a big jump. So it was more of a conversation between the two of us saying maybe 25 and 15 or 25 and 12 was better to start. So
I was just gonna add, if the council wants us to get a good hard number, the double decker is not off the table. It's certainly a consideration. We could bring back a exact cost of how many and how much.
Yeah.
That might be helpful, because I'm surprised that it's not in there, but that's okay. I think we can ask the consultant to add the double decker, only in the scenarios where the driving range is along the road.
Right.
So we get some good hard numbers on both space and dollars.
I think important thing is to keep in mind, if we do consider looking at double, is that the height of that, and if it's only going to be a double, the only place it could be a double if the driving range is moved, then it's going to be right in the view of the clubhouse.
So in talking to Andy, when I talked to him about that, he said that they would dig into the hill to make sure that the top of even if it was a double decker, that the land and the top of the double decker would all be together. It wouldn't be up above the top. So basically it would just be like land that goes out further, I guess. I'll explain that.
The topography allows for there to be a double decker garage structure.
And just a few comments and observations. I think we have a really good opportunity right now to change this from a golf facility to a family facility. So it's not directed just at our golf community. It can be an asset to everyone, even those like me who don't play golf. For me, it's really been about the bottom line. My goal and my hope was that whatever changes we make, it would be able to pay for itself, and I'm really happy to see that we do have some options that really come out that way, even if the revenue is optimistic or not the right word, but if we look at the options, even with option 5, one of the two most expensive options between 4 and 5, in both of the scenarios, we're looking at a possible excess of $150,000 to $185,000 a year. So even if those revenues are optimistic, there's a lot of wiggle room in there. I don't know if the best bang for our citizens' buck. I would not propose, from my standpoint, going out for anybody and not affecting property taxes. We need to find a revenue source that does not affect the property taxes of our citizens. Period. So for me, really, when it comes down to the bottom line, I'm looking at, and I'm glad I'm looking at option number 5 in both of the financing scenarios, being the best expenditure of our citizens' money at this point.
Any other questions? Thanks.
I've got several, we only got this on Friday, and for some people, tonight is the first we've seen this. So obviously, we're gonna need really some time to be able to analyze these numbers with that. So several things. One, I would like to request that we get a larger printout with all the numbers and stuff. And I would recommend we have it like we do with our budget. It comes out, page that folds out so we can read it, because individuals are not gonna be able to understand this. Very simple. One of the first questions I have is that, and this was brought up in the 7 meetings, it was only brought up twice. Occasionally, one was brought up, and another individual in the city asked this. Then, how does this compare what's being proposed to other cities that have the snow, rain, and climate that we have?
So I'll take the snag golf for example. So snag golf, the 2 courses that are going right now that Staples built, one's in Utah and one's in Colorado. So that was one of my questions is, okay, snag golf, you gave me numbers of this is how much it cost to build it approximately, and this is how much it brought in the first year. And then one of them had 2 years of numbers. And the first thing I asked is, well, where are they? Because one of the scenarios they brought us was Papago. Well, of course, that's in Arizona. We're not in Arizona. So I wanted to make sure that the numbers were good on that. So for snag golf, for example, we're not running numbers here, but $400,000 to $500,000, $300,000 to $400,000 to build it, and it was netting $55,000 a year in the first 2 years that they had done it on a $7 green fee on something that families can use. Well, for me, that was $55,000 for to bring in on revenue. Something costs $300,000. It doesn't take much math to figure out in 6 years it's already paid for. Just that one amenity. So I started to look at different amenities and making sure that they were in these climates that we are actually in also. And then the golf revenue side is all the golf revenue that's on here is our number. It starts with our number. So I made sure RJ and I looked at that. The very first number is our number, and it goes up from there. And it has in there basically inflation or raising fees as it goes up, and that's something that RJ and I talked about.
I know we're using 22,230 rounds. I remember we went through this 2 years ago. There was a number that I didn't write it down. What's the number of the maximum rounds course we take?
Maximum numbers?
I want to say it was in the 3,000 range, something like that.
3,000
rounds.
So it's at 22, we're at like 23,000 last year,
right?
22.7 or something like that. I mean, maximum would be every single tee times full, and that doesn't happen anywhere. So, what is it? I can't do the math. I did that number for you. I can't do the math right now.
You can't do the math?
No. That's okay.
I mean, I think when Andy and I looked at it when it was completely maxed out, if you were at, it just went 100% all the time, we were at like 60,000 rounds.
Okay.
That's a complete maxed out.
That's a different number than I've ever heard before.
Would it be safe to ask, like if you're looking at the scenario, you're looking at 2039, could the course handle 29,000 rounds in a year?
That's really what we're looking at, because what we don't have here is the numbers of what the course has done up to this point, of which you've assured us we're going to get. So I assume we're going to receive that any day now. Similar to what we had 2 years ago, where it showed a 3 or 5 year average of what's been doing. I think those numbers are critical, that we know what the course has been doing and what are our expenses and what are the revenues there. Because as we project forward, because in all honesty, we can put any number in here and extrapolate it out to show profit. Reality comes down to, if we're generating 22,230 rounds, how many rounds have we been averaging over the last, let's say, 5 years? And because I know that we're growing, so we can pace that, because if suddenly we say we can do 44,000 rounds, do I have confidence in that number? Right. If we've been doing 22,000 and it's taken us years to get up to that point, can we double that in a period of time? Because if it's not a realistic number, then we can't take the extrapolation of that additional rounds and put a dollar amount to it, and we're going to get that at the end. Yeah. The other thing comes down to is that it looks like there's about 5 revenue sources. We've got golf course, we have part sales, sort of their driving range, and those things we already have hard numbers on. The unknown is PD golf, pickleball, some of those things there, which everything is speculative on that part, because there's not a lot out there that have aid. And that's the part that we have to be really careful.
Right.
It's not difficult, I think, for any of us, even in this room, to look and say, okay, if this is what we have in range, if this is what we have in the course, and it's $600,000, and expenses are $500,000, we know that we're subsidizing $100,000, and that's okay. But to extrapolate that out by throwing other things in there that aren't proven
And that's,
for our area, we have to take that into consideration.
and that's what we leaned on safeness, and then doing it around the country, different places. That's why, like I said, the snag golf, that's when I had no idea how much it could bring in, how much you would even charge for something like that. That's why I had to ask them. So they're the ones that have done it at different places, and so that's why they're the ones that came up with the numbers, because they have the history of it.
I think of the, I'm sorry, on the 2020 numbers on the numbers going back, looking at the golf course actually did and the history we want to give you. The 2020 numbers, the reason why we can get this out on Friday is we want to make sure we had it fine tuned in the projection, the cash flow. Do include, not only does it include the golf course, the staff that Chris has, but also includes the staff that is out on the course. So when you're looking at those numbers, we are including our projection going forward of what we feel like it will take to maintain the course.
Right. What we discussed now in at least 3 of these meetings, and I'm bringing it up again now, is that what you gave us back 2 years ago. You took an average from 2013, 15, 16, 17 to show what the trend is there. And the trend is important for us to see, because we can show the council is that, we're not stagnating. We are actually growing revenue and be able to analyze how we're growing that revenue, because we can extrapolate that as we go on through a period of time. If not, we're just taking a wild guess. Now, numbers that they're showing here is that their own numbers show that about 10% of the Indian population utilizes the golf course. We're the residents of 11,000 people. So we just use round figures. That's 1,100 people that are using that. What they've done in their analysis, which I think is pretty good, that's showing the area around us, what can be utilized. And I think those are pretty good numbers that we can look at and extrapolate out also. That percentage brings us up to, I think, 12% or something. We're actually about 8.6% on their figures, I believe. It's estimated 8.6% of the total population participates in golf. Yeah, so we're about 8.6%. Using the surrounding area, I can bring it up to a higher number. That number, whatever it is 15 or 16%. It still comes down to the city of Liberty Lake, the residents who are going to pay for this, who are signing their name to this, is less than 10%. So I want us to understand what we're asking our citizens to do. I am very comfortable with the trend of the golf course and the driving range. To me, it's a no-brainer. We add more spots for the driving range. Boom, boom. Limited expense for something like that. Immediate increase in revenue. 2 years ago, when you sat here where you are now, and we had this conversation, comment was brought up on a couple of occasions. Well, what we could do is we could increase revenue by charging more for round to golf and also for driving range. What you told us was, if we do that, we're going to lose customers because they'll go elsewhere. So in this scenario, we're raising the cost. If the 2 golf courses that are in every lake don't proportionately raise their rates, we will get to a point where we will lose that customer base. That's just common sense.
And at this point right now, they're actually raising theirs faster than we're raising ours. So that they're every year, every 2 years, especially in this last 4 years when minimum wage has gone up, there's been the largest jump for everybody, and they've actually gone faster than we have. So they're definitely not going to stay on a straight line. As far as their fees are going to go.
I agree. Yeah. Let's hope they don't, because if so, we as citizens of the county, we're subsidizing that also.
Right.
Okay.
Can I add something, just because I think Councilmember Kaminsky's brought it up also. What's important, I think, isn't that we're just throwing numbers in to get an outcome, a bottom line. We're actually making assumptions, and so whether they're seasonal, geographic, the business, inflation, all of those things, as you said, Councilmember Kennedy, all that goes in. Maybe what we need to do is we need to identify all the assumptions that went into these numbers, because it's not an exact science. And I know that there's probably a range of income and expenses over the course of time, but I think it's important that these are, the credibility of the numbers are important, and therefore we need to know, you need to know what assumptions were made to put those together.
The assumptions are actually in the summary, there's
Are
two
they?
pages there.
Okay, which page are they on?
They're right before the cash flow analysis.
Okay.
There's two pages that tell you exactly what we're looking at and everything. And the other thing, Mike, I want to point out that they actually go to a utilization once in the higher scenarios, 4 and 5, where the utilization goes up as high as 60%.
I've read that.
Yeah.
I've read that, and that's why I asked the question, because once again, we're banking on the utilization is going to go more. If we're doing 22,000 rounds, whatever it is, and the maximum we could hit is 30, whatever the number is, and we'll never get 100%. It just doesn't work that way. Then we have to keep that in mind as we move along. Because we're looking at, I think, maybe roughly 5 different revenue sources, I think it's important we break down separately, because I think this is done at one time. So I know what's in here is a pickleball will generate this amount of money. Kitty golf is this amount of money. Restaurants this amount of money. It was sort of alluded to in the restaurants that as the revenue goes up, we can be tied. We're not going to be in the restaurant business. And that's not in this scenario. I just want to make that clear.
We don't want to be in the restaurant business.
We won't be in the restaurant business, right? Is that if we're going to charge a percentage, and in this scenario it's 5%, it's about $1.5 million, about $70-some odd thousand a year, $75,000 a year in rent is 5%. So right now we're getting 4,000. We're giving back 500. So we're getting about 3,500. So if we went to 75,000 and kept that, that's pretty good. It's better where we are. And then it was estimated to grow, if the restaurant did up $2 million, the rent would be, if it went to 9%, it'd be $180,000. Good number. But we also have to look at, are those realistic numbers compared to what restaurants are doing in the area now? And I'm assuming that's where we need confirmation that those numbers are realistic numbers. Because the challenge with me is, I agree with Chris, if this thing could break even, we got a home run. Okay? We got a home run. If it doesn't break even, we have to subsidize a little bit. In my opinion, we still got a home run. Because right now we're subsidizing, based on numbers from 2017, about $160,000 a year. And I don't see anybody complaining. Really don't. It's a good asset. My concern would be is that we extrapolate it out, isn't that our favorite word now, extrapolate it out, to 20 years down the road. If it does not meet that, the revenue, the net profit, or what we look at, is so thin. Our scenario is that if it was any other business, they go out of business, they're gone. But what's going to happen, we the citizens are going to pay for that in the short. So I would really be very conservative. Conservative to me is that right now, I want to know how much is being brought in on the average of the last 5 years, because I think it's easier for us as we move forward, realistically, what else we'll be able to get. But I think overall, this is great information. It's a lot of info.
And I think that we have an idea. I encourage you guys to really take a look at pages 18 through 22, because that breaks down a little bit. Well, that's 20-year revenue projections for income. It gives you an idea of how much you can charge for each category. I mean, yes, they have snake golf in Arizona, or not Arizona, but they can say, okay, even if you do this 6 months out of the year, they can still give us some projections on what the possibility is. There's a lot of neat options within this that makes it more of a community-based facility rather than just golf. So before we continue, if there's no other questions from the council,
Currently, what are the refunds being allocated to?
Just about everything you can think of.
So they're spoken for, I guess.
Well, so 2 years ago, when we started Orchard Park, the REIT funds were used for the cash flow, the part of general fund cash flow building, because that was a large project. And those monies are going to come back in to the city. So I'm sorry, those funds are coming back in the city. We have our capital facilities plan, so we do need to take a look at and prioritize what projects go where. But the REIT funds, at least from the cash payment balance of using some of that money towards that, those are really monies we spent in the past that aren't stored for necessarily in the future because you have existing dollars coming in. So right now, REITs are averaging, I'll as well as the forecast from the last 5 years for the golf course, I'll throw REIT in there because you want suggestion REIT, you want to see how it's performing. It's been coming in about anywhere from $600,000 to $800,000 a year for the last 3 or 4 years, just because there's so much property moving in the city.
So we don't currently have a long-term commitment that way?
Correct. There's not long-term commitment. So if you're a debt finance and you use REIT to pay it back, then you're committing a portion of the REIT for that.
I will say there is, things you can use it for. You can't use it for, operation and maintenance. You can use it for capital improvements.
Right.
Projects.
Thank you.
I did have a question. On these estimated dollar amounts, was the 10% for overages included in those?
So when you say 10%, contingency, so the miscellaneous expenses on those line items, that is where the contingency is. The cash flow statements and analysis, there's the last expense on there. Sorry, it's in the executive summary. The miscellaneous expenses is holding.
What page?
14.
17.
That was you can't read.
Yes, when you can. So
Well,
trust
that case, works for me. Thank you. Okay.
So, I'm gonna put my business hat on for a second. We have a lot of options before us. Options that could be very exciting for the community to engage more people to utilize our facility, such as snag golf, miniature course. We talked about even the pond/ice rink. But if we're not, and we always talked about keeping an open mind to this entire thing. Okay, can you pull up option 4 for me? Can you go back to option 4? So, not option 4. That one, thank you. So, as we look at this, I'm gonna try my best for everyone to see this. We know that our driving range is continuing to go up. How do we expand upon that? How do we draw more people into that driving range? We also know that our building cost is a big chunk of this cost to put in a new facility. We also know that we need a new facility. It's not meeting the needs that we currently have. So, when we look at this, I always try to think about, and you're gonna see a pattern over the next 6 months. When I look at projects, I look at how can we accomplish A, B, and C all in one shot in the least amount of dollars possible. Not driving up taxes, not driving up debt services. So if I don't point this out for us to consider, I would be doing a disservice to everybody. So when we look at these options, I think about how can we increase driving range revenue? How can we get a nice new facility? How can we provide all these amenities to the community and do it at about half the price? So you're thinking Right, good luck with that one. How are we gonna accomplish that? Keeping an open mind, okay? If I could provide an option to you guys that would, the other cost that we have is advertising dollars, okay? So my other goal with what I'm gonna present to you is that this will help drop our advertising costs. So, if we were to do something like this, we would be the only facility within the region that would have something like this. But again, a lot of costs would come to all of the building side of it. So if you look at the option of the 2 spots that could potentially be sold, I want you to picture, just for thought, don't freak out. For your business-minded people, you're gonna like the idea. You put in a high-end, 5-star, 4 to 5-star hotel. They put the building in. So picture an L-shaped hotel where those 2 gray squares are. They're putting in the building, they're putting in the restaurant, they give us a little space for the pro shop, they're doing the advertising. It's gonna drive your driving range use substantially. And it's drawing in options for them to get more heads and beds. So you have a view with the restaurant, depending on what floor it is, and we would cap it out at how many stores it could be. So you get this high-end hotel, they're putting all the cost in, you do a long-term lease, so we got constant revenue coming in to pay for the improvements to this golf course. So that's the other thing that I want to throw out to you guys to consider, because it is something that would help drop these costs down dramatically and get us everything that we need to include a new pro shop. So that's another option to take into consideration. And I know that there are a number of hotel organizations that would be interested in it, high-end hotel organizations. So I'll ponder that idea. What do you think about all this involved? The reason I bring this up is because we've already had some groups approach us about this idea and how valuable it could be to make all this happen at about half the price. Okay? Any questions on that?
Mayor Brickman, did you want us to take the scenario that you just put together and bring it back as a scenario number 6?
Well, I think that the council would need to think it through, and because this is really a big undertaking for the entire community. And when you look at creating a walkable facility that has the snag golf, and for those of you that aren't familiar with the snag golf, it's for younger kids that are learning how to play golf, or families that want to go out and play golf, and they hit tennis balls like they would a normal golf course. It's, I think 6 holes on that one, or 9. And they have smaller clubs, bigger heads, which is another revenue source that would come in. We also talked about the idea of a pond/ice rink that would be a potential revenue source in the winter months. You see the pond on that bottom side there, right under the event lawn, it looks like. So with this hotel idea, we're meeting all of those needs and drawing people to utilize the facility, which increases revenue substantially for the tourist. And as someone that has traveled most of their life for business, to be able to walk out your hotel and have a driving range, even a potential double-decker driving range, would be a serious, serious draw. Yes.
Pros and cons. Pro is that this idea has been brought up in the past, and I really think the idea has great merit. And why I continue to say that is that if you look at the Corley Hotel, you can look at a lot of them around. You've traveled a lot of these places, you have golf courses attached to them. and it's very attractive, you know. We're gonna be on 2 weeks down in Palm Desert, and there's already 5 clubhouses I've already contacted that I'm gonna be meeting with out of curiosity, ones I've played with in the past on it. That I think it has merit. The drawback maybe is that how long will it take to look into this? And does it delay all the things we've got going now? So that has to be taken into consideration. The other benefit would be is if we did find somebody that had an interest in that, is that it would substantially lessen our liability for the citizens. And I got voted in for one reason, is to be accountable with the dollar. And this 8.9 or 2.3, I'm gonna be accountable for every friggin' dollar to the citizens, because they're gonna be the ones who are on the hook for this. So if we could get an organization to come in and build something, and we kick in something along with it, the benefit of that is it takes away the liability aspect from the citizens, because they're gonna be so professional at this, they're gonna make sure it's gonna succeed. One of the things we've brought up in the past is to get somebody to come in, take over the golf course. And that always fell by the wayside because no one's building these golf courses now, to speak of, because they're not profitable. So I think it has great merit. The only drawback is, it concerns me, is the time frame. Now, we can get by with what we've got for a period of time. I started speaking 5 years ago, we can do something with this building, and that hasn't changed. My biggest concern is we don't lose the momentum. But I do think that has some possibility to it. You know, Coeur d'Alene is a huge draw. How many people go there and see something like that and think, you know what, I'd like to be involved in something on a smaller scale. There's a good chance that we could be that niche market for that.
Well, I've talked to a number of businesses throughout this region, and we actually heard it when we had our facility discussions with breakout groups to include one of our meetings with the business groups. And they have said, we fly people in all the time for meetings, and oftentimes we like to take them golfing, or we like to go hit the driving range, but they end up going to Coeur d'Alene Resort. And this possibility would have them staying in our area with these local businesses. This is a huge opportunity for our community as a whole, and creates a beautiful, like I said, nothing like it in the entire region that we would have. But we have to continue to think of how we can accomplish as many goals as possible in the most cost-effective way possible. And this is one of the ways to do that.
We talked quite a bit about this kind of concept. We talked to the Staples quite a bit about this as a concept, that we don't want to compete with Meadowwood. We want to compete with Liberty Lake, because we're never going to be there. We'll never have enough distance. So by doing something like this, it makes it unique enough that people would look at it as a destination. So, you know, we talked to George Gee, their sales guy, and they're looking for a place, you know. So imagine that they could come there, they could get, you know, they do the meeting for an hour or two, and get some food, catered to them. I mean, it's just perfect. There's nowhere like it.
So, I love the idea. It's on. I love the idea. I appreciate you use the term long-term lease. I'm not a fan of selling. This is sort of a premier residence. I'm not a fan of selling off control. My big concern is I start thinking about a hotel, and I just don't have the answers. We need to get some, get an initial dialogue going with whatever hotel group comes in, and or whoever's willing to come actually really start talking details. Is how big is this building?
Correct.
Frankly, it's like, is Liberty Lake, are our residents going to be okay if the hotel comes in and says, we need 12 stories? Wow, that doesn't necessarily go with our current culture.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe at a 5-star level, it doesn't have to be that big. Maybe you can, I just don't know, and I think that's, I think if we went and propose that to our citizens, I think that they'd have some problems with a really old building.
Yeah, I would never want to have something super high from that perspective. We need to be I always want to be cognizant of that.
Well, I'm just throwing out there that we haven't gone down the path far enough that we have any clue what these building details look like. If I'm on the hotel side, I'm going, I need to go taller because I need more rooms so I can get more people. And 3 stories just isn't gonna, maybe not. I just don't know. And, so that's a big, concern of how long the lease looks, what those terms look like. You know, I look at some of the financials in here and the finances work fine. I think we can make this work as a city. Great idea to cut it in half, and we can do that. Is it worth altering the level of service we're giving to our citizens? That's my main concern. Mike, I think you got a great one too. There's a lot of momentum going. That said, I've continued to look at this as a 50+ year decision. And so we're going to kick it down the road 6 months while we're continuously engaged and figure it out. It's worth that 6 months. It absolutely is. And Herbert, I appreciate you bringing this option idea up. I'm very interested in Katie, your question. I would be very interested in seeing how the financials actually work in that scenario. And I wouldn't want staff just my thought would be I wouldn't want staff wasting a lot of time on it. A group actually come to the table and say, no, we are interested. We come to the table. Yes. Versus just kind of looky-loos out there going, sure.
Traffic's another thing we have to have.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
And there would have to be improvements for sure that we would require by the hotel to put in place. But that also looks at other things needs that we would have to have met as well. We've talked about needing either a roundabout or a traffic light at Mission and Country Vista. That would force by nature to have something there, and they would be able to pay. Or we could work out an agreement that they would pay on the impact of that to make that happen.
I think who actually wants to come talk to us, talk about what buildings are going to look like, and be willing to actually build these buildings.
I was just curious, I know we're running short on time and I don't see it on the agenda. Were we looking for some citizen comments tonight?
I was going to open it up to citizen comments next. I know we don't have anything slotted, but I think it's important for this topic specifically, we allow for some citizen comments.
Do you want to stand up and come to here?
Yeah, that right.
And we may not have the answers, but we can certainly take the questions.
Yes, I would like your guys' feedback until we get the answers. All this is very conceptual right now, so this is merely discussion on, so I don't want anyone panicking on anything.
Yes, and thanks for this opportunity. Parking.
Could you identify yourself, sir?
Yeah, Mark Thomas. Okay, so parking on these scenarios, what's changing as far as that? Or is it just, right now is the assumption it's staying the same?
So if you look at this diagram right here, this all becomes parking.
Okay.
All throughout here.
Okay. And one other question I had, and that is clubhouse square footage for the new clubhouse versus what it is today. What are we talking?
I think we were talking about double, weren't we?
It's 4,600 to start.
What's that?
4,600 square foot.
4,600 square feet.
Currently 4 to 6?
The new one would be.
No, it's our current.
So right now the building is it 3,600 square feet up, 3,600 square feet down.
Okay, 72.
And 7,200 square feet on 2 stories. Is the new clubhouse more square footage?
Yeah, it was at like 12.2 or.
Yeah, it's considerable.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
And on the parking thing, and I'm not sure, and I'm just going to throw this out because we are in the conceptual stage. There was a concept that some of the parking would come down around, be expanded towards City Hall in some scenario.
Yeah, thank you.
And if you took out this clubhouse spot here, and we went with that option of this here, with that hotel, that would be potential for more parking as well.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Kilgore, and I can see the golf course from my house. I walk down by the golf course almost every day. When I bought there, I never thought there'd be a hotel that close. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, no, I would never be for a hotel there. Okay, those of us that's almost our back. I mean, I'm not right on the golf course. I can't say it's my backyard, but I'm like a house up on the hill on Tanglewood. No, I mean, I No hotel for me, thank you.
Linda and I share the same view.
Yeah, he's my neighbor. Well, you're 3 houses up.
Hi, I'm Stacy Sitton. I came when you guys were doing your concepts. I'm a mechanical engineer in the community. I love the ideas. My thought was disc golf for a revenue source. I was a little disappointed to see that it wasn't brought forth as a design concept in this meeting. In my opinion, the snag and mini golf might be a little redundant as far as kids and revenue sources. That seems to be a common theme, is revenue source. The disc golf, I personally played at Ponderosa Disc Golf Course in Coeur d'Alene this weekend. We threw a disc golf tournament there. There was 100 people. We had 100 people buy lunch and beverages at Capone's, and this was February 29th. Revenue throughout the year, I think we're missing an opportunity here to have disc golf come in, because again, all of these amenities to the course are seasonal. And I really, again, disc golf, Ponderosa is a 9-hole golf course, just like Trailhead. So I really think it should be considered as an option. I could see it all year long. Not only that, disc golf is one of the fastest growing sports in the world. It's very popular. Being on a ball golf course like it could be, charging green fees, doing it all year long with the food and beverage, would pull in the high class disc golfers, you know, the ones that want to stay and have lunch and beverages. And again, just all year long. So I'm going to state it again because I hope it gets in the next design turn when you're considering a hotel and everything, because I have 2 kids. My kids are young. I love them. I play disc golf with them. I play ball golf. Pickleball, not interested. And again, snag and mini golf, I love children, I want them to be involved, but it's redundant. And so if we could bring another area, Orchard Park declined it, the Spokane County Park declined it, and we're missing an opportunity to bring it into the community. So I'm gonna say it again, hope to see it in the next design turn. Thank you.
Any other citizen comments?
Well, I am Gary Copenhaver, and watching all of this, there's one idea of revenue that I've seen on TV, because I'm retired and watch TV too much. But from your driving range, I haven't seen why you haven't provided some seating areas around it and target areas in it, and promoted within the schools and everything. Have it this target competition like they have on TV with awards and everything. It's something we haven't seen in this area, but it's on TV now and it's taken hold of other places.
Thank you.
I'd just like to see you look into that.
Option 5 actually has, it has an electronic, kind of like a top golf type thing, have you ever seen it? Yeah. Except that reading is not multiple sports.
I'm Molly Arnson. I live at the end of the driving range up on Tanglewood, and I am definitely not interested in seeing a hotel off the back door of my house. I'm concerned about all these activities that are being moved over to where the existing driving range is, that are proposed, and what kind of noise, and how many people are going to be there, how late this is going to run, is it going to be, what kind of disturbance it will be for those of us who sit up on that ridge at the end of the existing driving range. And I'm also wondering what's happening to our golf course that I use all the time. What is it going to be like? And is it even more condensed than what it is currently? It appears to be, that it's going to be even shorter, more condensed driving range or golf course than what it already is, and I use it all the time.
Depending on the option, it would, if you went for the layer options that we discussed throughout, options, everything but one, I think, would turn it into a true par-free course.
Okay, so they'd all be really short. So are we gonna lose golfers who will just go somewhere else because of that too? We're losing what we already have as a golf course.
You have about 1 more minute for comment.
Mark Nielsen. Just a comment there about the golf. I know I play a lot at Meadowwood and Liberty, and 2, 3, 4 times a week. I never play at Trailhead. I don't play there because of the greens, I'd say, is the reason. The golf course, the quality of the greens, they look nice, and they're great for a lot of players, I'm sure. But as a golfer, they are not up to par with the normal golf course. And so if I were to play that, it would really mess my game up, right? It would be something I would have to adjust to, and then it would mess me up, so I play. Now, when you say par 3, I've been in areas, Palm Desert, you mentioned, other places where they've had par 3 golf courses that were really nice green complexes, nice greens, at the quality that we have over here. And I would play that. I would be a revenue source that's not currently patronizing the facility, and it would be a fun thing to do because you can play it in this time frame. Yeah. But it has to have the quality of the greens so that real golfers don't see it as a detriment to the game.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be.
We're gonna have another citizen comment during our regular meeting. So if you didn't get a chance to make a statement, you can do that in about 10 minutes. So we're gonna start our regular meeting. So let's get started.